Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to unpack a pretty uncomfortable truth about human behavior and social dynamics. For years, you've probably been fed this very specific social conditioning about kindness. It's a narrative that sounds great on paper, but, well, it's actually completely flawed when you look at how the real world actually operates.
Yeah, you read that right. You've been lied to your entire life. Seriously, think about it. You were told over and over that if you're just kind, endlessly agreeable, and if you completely bend over backwards for everyone else at your own expense, you'll be handsomely rewarded with respect. But I want you to really look around. Look at your office, your social circles. The people snagging those promotions, the ones effortlessly commanding a room, are they always the stereotypical nice guys? The data, and honestly just basic psychology, totally disagree. The people who actually command respect, they're the ones who know exactly how to say no.
So that brings us to Section 1, the great nice lie, stripping away the social conditioning.
And that rolls right into Section 2, the predictability trap, why being agreeable makes you invisible.
Let's actually break down the psychology here. When people casually toss around the idea that they hate assholes, it's super misunderstood. Psychologically speaking, they don't usually mean they hate genuinely malicious people. What they actually resent are people who firmly enforce their boundaries, especially when it inconveniences them. See, agreeableness gets confused with genuine niceness all the time, but it's really a behavioral trap. When you're just purely agreeable, you're actively signaling to the world that your time, your energy, and your opinions, they're entirely secondary to everyone else's needs. Having zero boundaries isn't actually being nice. It's simply making yourself incredibly predictable to the people around you.
And here's the brutal reality. Predictable equals easily manipulated. Human beings on this really deep, almost subconscious level just flat out refuse to respect people they find predictable and easy to manipulate. If you're always available, always bending to whatever someone else wants, you completely lose that natural friction that creates value in social dynamics. Which kind of forces us to reframe a pretty heavily loaded word. In the eyes of the status quo, an asshole is often just someone who absolutely refuses to conform to the expectations of others. Now, when someone refuses to sacrifice their own needs for yours, sure, your ego gets a little bruised. You might label them a jerk just to make yourself feel better, but the harsh truth? Secretly, you totally respect their ability to stand alone and hold their ground.
So let's dig into why our brains are wired this way in Section 3, the biology of respect, the hardwired mechanics of human hierarchy. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is this psychological phenomenon known as the halo effect. Our brains have this baked-in instinct to look at total, unapologetic certainty and see it as a massive sign of high status. And get this, that happens even if the person is objectively wrong. The human brain just automatically rewards certainty with social power. It's basically an evolutionary shortcut we've used for thousands of years to spot leaders.
And this brilliantly illustrates the stark contrast between these two mindsets when it comes to taking action. Look at the nice guy. He operates from this place of constant hesitation, right? He's always asking for permission. Meanwhile, the person society labels an asshole just makes a move and deals with whatever consequences pop up. One is a follower, waiting around for a green light, and the other is a leader actually paving the road. We see that exact same contrast in physical presence, too. The over-accommodating nice guy literally apologizes for taking up space. They kind of just shrink themselves down. But the assertive person, they occupy the whole room because they inherently assume they belong there. And, as we just talked about, people are hardwired to follow folks who move through the world with that kind of absolute, undeniable physical certainty.
So the absolutely crucial point here is this. If your default mode is constantly checking in, constantly asking, always trying to keep the peace, you need to realize what you're actually broadcasting. You are beaming out a low-status signal that screams, I am a follower. And the really uncomfortable truth about human nature? People do not respect followers. They just use them. Which brings us to a better way. Section 4, becoming assertive, not toxic. The shift from agreeable to empowered. So the immediate question you're probably asking yourself right now is, okay, so do I just become a jerk? Do I start treating everyone poorly? Let me be totally definitive here. No. Absolutely not. That is low-level thinking. Becoming some fake bullying alpha is completely counterproductive. Bullies don't actually get genuine respect. They just generate this quiet, brewing resentment that eventually blows up in their face. The real goal here is a fundamental shift. You have to move from being agreeable to being assertive.
The objective is completely shedding that doormat persona so you can become a highly assertive person who is firmly rooted in their own value, all without crossing that line into toxicity. Let's move to and see how this builds into a highly practical three-part framework to actually change your behavior. We call this the assertive shift, and it requires three things: stop explaining, embrace healthy conflict, and prioritize your direction. Let's break these down one by one. Step one is so vital. Stop explaining yourself. Nice guys have this terrible habit of over-explaining everything. They feel like they owe the universe a 5-page essay of excuses every single time they just need to say no. You've got to stop doing this. "I can't do that right now" is a complete sentence, period. You do not need to justify your boundaries for them to be valid.
Step 2. Embrace conflict. Listen, conflict is where your value is actually defined out in the real world. If you're actively avoiding conflict at all costs, you're signaling that you're hiding your core beliefs, or worse, that you're just terrified to show them. On the flip side, disagreeing with someone respectfully is quite literally the highest form of confidence. It defines your true value. Finally, step 3. Have a mission that is way more important than just being liked. This is the ultimate paradigm shift right here. When you have a clear mission, people quickly realize that your time isn't free anymore. And the great irony of human psychology is that the second you prioritize your own path and your time is no longer this free, endless commodity, people will suddenly value it 10 times more. There is a profound truth here, and I want you to really hear this. True respect is never given to the compliant. It is extracted by those who respect themselves enough to put their own path first. All that societal shaming around having to be nice all the time, it's largely just a mechanism designed to keep you compliant and useful to other people. You have to respect yourself first before anyone else will even consider doing it. To wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this visceral takeaway. You absolutely do not need to be an asshole to get respect in this world. You just need to stop being a doormat. Stop waiting for permission to take up space. Now, I want to leave you with a question to really chew on as you go about your week. Have you ever been penalized, whether at work or in a relationship, for being too nice? Really think about that. Thank you so much for joining me for this deep dive, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.